Hi everyone. Today we are going to understand the basic concept of corporate governance, and further we are also going to discuss the various key provisions on corporate governance mentioned in the Companies Act 2013. Now let us first understand the basic concept of corporate governance. See, every organization should be accountable, responsible for all the activities which it performs. So corporate governance is basically the way in which the organizations are run or governed. See, in early 2000s, when many cases of fraudulent practices were unearthed or unwrapped in a country, then the government made several laws. Several committees were formed to make corporate governance laws so as to prevent such malpractices. Okay, we all have heard about Kumar Mangalam Birla Committee, then Naresh Chandra Committee, as to reduce the malpractices in the corporations, right? So corporate governance basically focuses on the way the corporations are run or governed. Okay, the organizations should be accountable. Okay, there should be integrity, fairness, right, and all. Now let us understand the importance of corporate governance. See, why is corporate governance important? Why do we have to run or govern an organization in a better way? It is so because we want to prevent the fraudulent practices. Okay, we want to bring accountability in the organization. So fraudulent practices have to be removed. That's why it is very important that corporate governance laws are formed. Okay, then investors also build trust. Okay, what happens is that after you you have got good accountability and good practices, corporate governance practices, your investors trust you a lot. Who are your investors? These are basically the people who have invested in your stock, your shares, okay, and all. And also eventually the market share of the organization increases, and because of this the customer becomes loyal to your brand, and thereby the brand loyalty also increases, right? So why is corporate governance important? It is so because all the fraudulent practices can be reduced. Okay, and investor trust also augments or increases, and eventually your market share also grows a lot, right? Now let us discuss the various provisions of the Companies Act 2013. See, it is it was mentioned, or it is mentioned, that a CSR committee should be formed. Okay, it is mandatory that CSR committee has to be formed in the organization, and there should be a fixed 2% of the total profits which has to go to the CSR expenditure, and minimum one independent director should be there in that CSR committee, right? Then it also mentions about the appointment and tenure of the independent directors in the company, right? Independent directors are basically those directors who do not have any share in the company. Okay, so they are trusted more because they are not partial. Okay, because they are not having any holding. So it mentions about the appointment also, and the tenure, that is for how long will they be there for. Okay, then appointment of a women director provision is also there in the provision, right? Then also one more thing is mentioned about the separation of the position and power of the CEO and chairperson. Yes, they both were initially considered as one. Okay, they had common power, but according to the provisions of Companies Act regarding corporate governance, the position and power of CEO and chairperson were separated, right? Then it was also mentioned that nomination of a remuneration committee should be done. Okay, there should be a remuneration committee which should be formed. And also regarding the whole time key managerial person appointment provision was also there, right? Now, what did we understand? We basically understood the concept of corporate governance. Okay, we understood that how so many scams or malpractices were unearthed in the early 2000s, and thereby the focus on making organizations more accountable, okay, more responsible was understood, right? So certain laws or certain provisions were made so that the organizations are accountable for what they are doing, right? So government formed various committees like Naresh Chandra committee post the Enron scandal which happened in America, right? Then it also formed NR Narayan Murthy committee, okay, Naresh Chandra and all, Irani committee, okay. Then we also understood the importance of corporate governance. Why is corporate governance important? It is because we have to reduce the fraudulent practices in an organization, we have to enhance the accountability, okay, the fairness in the organization, and then also it helps in building the trust of not only investor but every stakeholder, be it a supplier, be it your shareholder or your investor also, right? Then eventually what will happen? Your market share will augment, and thereby your brand's loyalty will increase too, right? Then we further discussed about the various provisions of the Companies Act 2013, wherein we talked about that it is mandatory that a CSR committee should be formed in the organization, and minimum one independent director should be appointed, right? Then it is also necessary that 2% of the organization's profit goes to the CSR expenditure. Further, there should be an appointment of a women director also. Okay. Then it also mentions about the tenure and appointment procedure of independent directors also. And further, there should be a separation of power of CEO and chairperson, right? And further, there should be appointment of whole time key managerial person. Then there is a provision regarding the audit committees tenure and appointment also, okay. Now let us practice some important questions regarding this topic. So who gave the word corporate governance? See, you might have read this about this earlier also. See, first option is Robert Katz, Fredrick Hertzberg, Robert Tricker, Mary Parker Follett. See, corporate governance word was basically initially used by Mr. Robert Tricker. Okay, so he was the one who gave this word corporate governance. Okay, to reduce the malpractices in the organization. Now, the next question is, which among the following is not the objective of corporate governance? To brand to build brand loyalty, of course we have to build a brand loyalty, then that's why we follow corporate governance norms. Then to gain investors confidence, this is also correct. To reduce the sourcing choices, no. If if you are following good corporate governance practices, then you will want that your sourcing options should increase or can increase, okay. So sourcing options are basically like who will be your financiers, the banks, okay, the shareholders. Of course you will want that they increase, you have many options. Then make easy investments, yes, this is also the objective of corporate governance. So the correct answer for this question is option See, right? So, this was all for today, guys. See you soon. Thank you so much for your time. Bye bye.